about to connect. Neiman Gracie.
Master, how are you? How's everything?
Era braba. I don't know if you want to talk in English or Portuguese. It's up to you, Neiman.
Maybe we can do both, you know?
Yeah, that would do it. Let's see it. Neiman.
Yeah.
It's been such a long time, and I remember one of the few times back in Brazil. I think you used to live in the same street of Gracie Barra. I used to see you, Kyron, Honish, all playing at Carlinhos' house. That was next.
All the troublemakers.
Man, and to make things even better, I think it's not only you're the Gracie family, but also has your dad, which was one of the best black belts I ever seen, and have a pleasure to train with and learn so much from too. But Neiman, man, grand would say son of Carlos Gracie, grandson of Robson Gracie, son of Carla and Marcio Stambovsky. I mean, it's a lot of fights into the same blood, which is amazing.
Yeah, mas.
Tell me, Neiman, man, we all want to know your early steps in Jiu-Jitsu, because, you know, in our family, we don't have much. It's not even a choice. It's just what we're going to do, regardless. How was that? How was the beginning of Jiu-Jitsu for you, man?
Yeah, so first off, I'd like to say that it's a pleasure to be here talking with you. I'm a huge fan of you. I've been hearing the stories since I was a little kid, you know. My father said that you always beat him up every time he goes to show up at the Gracie Barra.
But wasn't that
he said, every time I go to Gracie Barra and Jack is there, I know it will be a tough night, you know. So it's a pleasure. I remember I was a kid growing up at Carlinhos' house, and they are just starting the Gracie Mag. And the first Gracie Mags that came in was the one from Abu Dhabi that you were on the cover.
Oh man, that's great! Some great times. I miss those days.
Yeah, so I remember, like, I was a kid. Oh man, I want to be like these guys, you know. So it's one of my heroes. So it's a pleasure to be here.
But you know, Neiman, you know what? Growing up in the Gracie family, it has, in a good sense of the word, pressure. Because we live under pressure, because we want to go and win. We want to represent a legacy on the family. We want to continue to do what the prior generations did amazingly well and inspire all of us.
Yes, it's true.
The amazing thing to me, seeing now, I'm older than you. Then it's not like in a family with so many great legends, and a lot of the family members are part of the history. But the incredible thing to me is a lot of them have their mission in a way, some more than others. But not only now in such a young age, you are part of the history, but more than that, you are writing your own history in a family of so many heroes. I mean, you have to keep it that years down the road, the next generation of the family is going to look back and say, man, I want to be like this guy right here. I want to be like them. I want to do so well. You know, you already, in such a young age, achieved so much, man. I think you're 9-1 at Bellator, MMA. And we're going to get there. But I want to see, when was the first steps of Jiu-Jitsu? I might know some of the answers, but I want to know who introduced you to Jiu-Jitsu. When did you?
Yeah, of course.
All of that. Well, tell us, man.
Can you hear me well? It's
good. We're all good.
All right. I think it's very similar to you, you know, the way that everything started with you. Like it's on a family, you know. But I was very also fortunate to have my father also being a black belt, because all the games that we used to do at the house used to be related with Jiu-Jitsu, you know. Like we playing at the house, then boom, we throw an armbar, and you go and you throw a choke. So it started as a game at the house, playing, doing Jiu-Jitsu at the house. And I live very close to the gym, to Gracie Barra. So when I start having the age to be able to go to the academy, I started going to the academy, and I don't even remember when I started. You know, I just remember I was there training already, and it was very funny because at the academy is where I met my cousins. Like, I remember I was training at the class, and I saw a little kid sitting on the side. Then I train and I sit on, by his side, and I start talking to him, and I said, "Hey, I'm a Gracie." I told him, like, you know, "Hey, I'm a Gracie." And he said, "Oh, really? Me too." I said, "Really?" "Yeah, I'm Carlinhos. My name is Kyron." I said, "Oh boy, we're cousins." Like, we met each other like that in the mats, you know. And since that day, we link up and we start seeing each other every day. Then I start going to his house, playing around, and everything started like a game. And it started becoming serious when I was a little bit older, around 14, 15. Then I started competing like almost every weekend in Brazil, and everything started becoming more serious, you know. But I had so many people to look up to because I grew up at Gracie Barra, and there was so many champions back then, you know. So I grew up with all my heroes at the academy, and I wanted to be like them. So I was training, and I was seeing them training, and there was such a great environment to be, you know.
And man, I know, and I'm sure you met how was it like to be the grandson of Robson Gracie, you know? How is that to be the nephew of Charles Gracie, the nephew of Renzo Gracie, you know, and Ralph Gracie and Ryan Gracie?
Yeah.
And that's funny because I think Robson is your same age as you or younger than you. Robson's in.
Yeah, Robson's the same age. We're the same age.
He's your uncle.
Yeah, he's my uncle, you know. I remember when we used to go out and talking to people, and I say, "Hey, he's my uncle." And he said, "No, we're cousins," like, because people think that was a little crazy, you know. And Robson has a sister, Clara. She's many years younger than us. I think she's on her 20s right now, like 23 or something. And I remember when she was she born, and she's my aunt, you know. So that was crazy. And she was like a little girl, like a baby, and I used to play with her and say, "Hey, come here, auntie." And she said, "I'm not your auntie," like, you know. So the family is crazy, man. It's so many people that sometimes we even get lost, like, you know, like sometimes I don't know who's my cousin, who's my uncle. It's crazy, but it was awesome having all of these guys. And I grew up at Quebra-Mar, you know, which is the beach over there close to the academy. And I was surfing there, hearing the stories of Renzo and Ryan and Ralph, you know. So I grew up with all these stories, and it was an awesome life, you know. Growing up in Brazil was great, man.
And man, is that anything in a way that you remember, or a phrase or a story or something with your grandfather, Robson? Is there anything you remember that he mentioned to you, he said to you? I know,
many.
It's more than one for sure. But it's a lot of experience that we get from the prior generations, but stick with us forever.
Yeah. One that surprised me a lot with my grandfather was that I was a kid, and I went to see a training session between Renzo and Ryan. And I think Ryan and Renzo, they were pissed off at each other at the time because they had a problem or something. So and my grandfather was there watching also. And then the training started getting crazy, you know, like almost they got into a fight, like slapping. It was no gi, so they were slapping each other. Ryan threw Renzo on his head, then Renzo threw him on his head, and they almost fighting. Then I look at my grandfather, and I thought he was going to break up, but no, he was sitting on a Pilates ball with his glasses, like rolling his glasses like this.
Favorite move.
Exactly, yeah. And telling them what to do. Ryan, don't let him take you down like that. Go back, beat him up. I was like, damn, man, this is crazy. Like they almost fighting him, and instead of my grandfather breaking them apart, he was coaching them, and I was like, damn, man, like this is crazy, you know. So I could see how they grow up, you know, and that was kind of crazy. And I kind of did that a little with my cousins too, you know, like with Kyron and Robson. I remember sometimes we got into a fight, and instead of people breaking us up, they were coaching us, like, "Hey, Neiman, put your hands up," you know, like if normal people see that, they would think that we're crazy, you know.
But to know, one of the things that they do not know, that in all of our houses, and when I spoke to Renzo and Charles, and especially Renzo, Ralph, and Ryan, that had so much into their lives, one thing that is, and I'm sure it's the same in all of our houses, is so much love in the family, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
The training is over, it feels like we washed,
exactly.
Shower,
Yeah,
and we're the best friends ever. It was always like that, man. You know, we are there, and I got your back. You know, it's never, and it's incredible because people, I don't think, understand much, but after the train, it's kind of everything. 5 minutes later, we go back to what people call normal. But that's the amazing thing, is we push each other to the limit, because we know we're gonna learn and need to be at that limit one day. And Neiman, how was also, man, being a son of your dad? Because your dad, if I'm not wrong, he was black belt under Hollis Gracie, right? I'm not a member of the family that is like a god to all of us. He's up there in a place that's untouchable. How was that too? Have your dad, someone that it's one of the best students Hollis Gracie ever made, being your dad and having him 24/7 to ask questions, to train, to do all of this, man? How is that? How is not everyone? Not everyone is that lucky to have a father who's a black belt, and a very good one, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Like I was pretty lucky to have my father. Like my jiu-jitsu got much better because of my father, you know, because I remember I used to go to train at Gracie Barra during the day and the night, and my father wasn't going there anymore because he was working with other things, you know, like he had like a clothing line and other things. So he couldn't be at the gym with me, you know. But so every time I had trouble at the gym, when I got back at home, like around 10 p.m. or something, my father used to get there from work, and we had a little match at the house. So I would ask him how to deal with the stuff that I was having trouble. And I say, "Dad, but today I couldn't pass the guard because of this. The guy put this hook in." And he said, "Come on, let's put the gi on, let's put the mats." And so every night I had like a private lesson with one of the best guys, you know. So the next day I go back to the gym, and I was able to beat the guys that were giving me trouble, and they don't know like what the hell happened, you know. So that was pretty awesome to have like a private teacher at the house 24/7, you know.
Boy, that's amazing, man. That's incredible. Yeah. And based on all that training, man, look, it's who else in the family that you spoke with? Because I remember, even for me, when I have Uncle Helio Gracie next to me, Uncle Carlos, it's kind of
amazing.
You keep looking at them like, man, not believing that you're right next to them and having a chance to go up and hear so much. How is that for you in general with the family? So many people that we look up to.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to ask you who's your favorite, but some of the experience that you have with some family members, uncles, cousins, some of the things that Marco knew that you carry, is like, man, that helped me much into my life.
I think we got a little bit different era, me and you know, that back in the day when you were growing up, I think everybody were more together, you know. You had everybody there with you all the time, like Master Carl.
Yes, where everybody
was exactly. And they will meet up in the weekends, probably, you know, at the Teresopolis house, you know. So I think that was a pretty awesome time too. My mom always tell me the stories of the house, you know, in Teresópolis. She grew up there, so she knows all the stories. It's crazy, a bunch of kids together, you know, so many crazy stories. But with me, the family were more like some guys were here, some guys were there. Like Renzo was already on the United States when I was growing up, and Carlson had his school, and Carlinhos had his school. So I grew up more with Carlinhos, you know, and I learned a lot from him. You know, I learned a lot from Carlinhos and the guys at Gracie Barra. And when I was around 18 years old, so I trained all my life over there at Gracie Barra with Carlinhos. And when I was around 18, I moved with him to California, to America, you know, because he moved there, and Kyron, his son, is the same age as me. He was living there, and Kyron was a little bit by himself, you know, didn't have anybody. Then one day, Carlinhos saw me training at the gym and said, "Hey, do you have a passport?" I said, "Yeah." "Okay, you're going to California with me in the weekend." I said, "All right," you know, like, so I went with him to California. Then I stayed there for 6 months. I was 18 years old, and my father came to open his gym in Connecticut, which is close to New York. So when my father came 6 months later, I moved from California to live with my father and help him with his new school. And I was training there with my father a little, and then since I was training there with my father and his school was pretty new, he didn't have many trainings for me, like a tough training, you know. And Renzo's school was like 1 hour from my father's. So I started going to Renzo's school when I was around 18. And when I got to Renzo's school, it was pretty awesome because he had all my cousins there. Igor, Hollis, Gregor, you know. Everybody was living there with Renzo already. And then I started having more time with Renzo and the boys. And that was awesome because from there on, I started training with Renzo, you know. I was a purple belt. And from my purple belt to black belt, I started training with Renzo. So I trained with Master Carlinhos until I was 18. Then after that, I started training with Renzo. So I was able to get a little bit from their game, you know. So I got a little bit from Carlinhos, then a little bit from Renzo, and that was awesome because I got a little bit of the game from everybody, you know. But growing up with Carlinhos was pretty cool because he's a character, you know. He's pretty funny, and I had so many stories with him. It's crazy.
With him, I was from white to black belt. Carlinhos was my
so.
Let me ask you I asked Renzo that when I spoke to him, and what is amazing on Renzo, and you could tell on your point of view, is all that younger generation end up always going to the channel to find, in a way, Renzo, because he's like a mentor. He's someone that knows everything what he talks about in life and fight. How is that? How's that from purple to black going up with Renzo? Because I know he's not an easy guy too. Funny, but he wants to get things done. How is that
it's true.
experience for you to have Renzo? Because he's like a father too, you know. I'm sure everyone and all the cousins that are there, he look up to every single one as his own son. How is that? How's that experience that?
That's true. So when I started going there, after a couple of weeks already, you know, I moved there. So I talked to him, and he was, "Hey, you gotta stay here. The good training is here. Forget about Connecticut," you know. So I said, "Okay, so you stay here now." I say, "All right." So I moved to New York, and I was 18 years old, you know, and it was awesome. Then Renzo really started like taking care of me, you know, like and showing me stuff. And then I started training like MMA because he has a strong MMA team.
Yes.
And and as soon as I moved, my older cousins like Igor and Gregor and Hollis, they were fighting MMA. So I really started training boxing and Muay Thai and everything, you know, and that helped me a lot because I always loved Jiu Jitsu, but I always wanted to be an MMA fighter, you know. I grew up in the Royce era, you know. I grew up looking at Royce and everything that he did. So my dream was to be a MMA fighter already. And when I moved to Renzo, that was perfect because he had everything there. He had the Muay Thai, the wrestling, and I had Renzo, which is, like you said, he knows everything because he's been there, you know. So that was awesome. I start training more no-gi also, and that really changed my game a lot. And plus, they have Professor John Danaher there too, so everything was perfect, you know.
And did you, as a kid, I know I'm asking that question, I pretty much know the answer, but you as a kid, as you mentioned, you ever thought you're going to get this far, you know, when being a very successful, in a young age still, an MMA fighter, or even doing Vale Tudo? Did you ever thought in the beginnings, like, you know, and you know, in the family, in a way, it's almost everyone, when you reach your higher level black belt, you got to try to do MMA. You got to go and do a Vale Tudo regardless. It's almost like I get my graduation.
Yeah.
How is that?
Exactly.
Did you ever thought you would be, from the Jiu-Jitsu, the beginning of the time, today, to be doing mixed martial art, and now be a hero to a lot of younger generations out there, Neiman? I know a lot of people that look up to you, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
You are one of their favorite fighters, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How is that for you, man? From little kid, I'm dreaming one day, or you ever thought to be doing, it's gonna be the way you're doing. How is that? How is the whole?
Yeah, it was also to be a Vale Tudo fighter. I always loved Vale Tudo, you know. So of course, I love Jiu-Jitsu, but what I wanted to do was Vale Tudo. So I had the idea already that I'll be fighting Vale Tudo, but not because the sport changed a lot. So I didn't think that people would be like superstars and make money doing this, you know. I thought I would be doing some Vale Tudo fights, but not doing this because today MMA is my life, you know. That's how I pay my bills. Like, I kind of stopped teaching a little bit, and I'm just training and fighting. So MMA really became my life, and fighting really became my life, you know. If I don't fight, I cannot pay my bills. So I never thought that will happen, you know. But I think it's awesome. It's a great lifestyle, you know. It's a little tough, as you can see. Like, I always have a black eye, but I love it, man. I love it. I love fighting. So, like, I love watching fights. Like, I love watching old boxing fights, old Muay Thai fights. So fighting it's something that I love, and so doing other martial arts too was really fun for me and really easy, you know, because I always like martial arts, not only Jiu-Jitsu but everything else. So that was a perfect lifestyle to live on.
And when you thought was the timing? Said, you know what? I think I'm ready. I want to go and do my first fight. How was that?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you talked to Renzo about it. How was that decision? When was the right time? When someone said, Neiman, I think you should be on the next card. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
How was that first fight you had? How's that end up happening to you?
So I think that took a little bit longer than it should, you know, because like I said, when I moved to Renzo, I started training MMA already, and I was 18. And I only did my first fight when I was like 23, I think, or 24. So I was training for a while already with the team, you know. So what happened was, it was pretty funny that the same day that I had my first fight, my cousins fought also. So Gregor fought, Hollis fought,
oh, man.
And they were going to fight already. And I was doing good in training. They were seeing me doing good, and they say, you know what? Put Neiman to fight. Poor Neiman's doing great. Like, he's doing all the rounds, all the training with us. You know what? Put him to fight. I think it's time. So that's what kind of like it happened. You know, I was there already. I was training. I was doing all the rounds with them. So when they were going to fight, they said put Neiman, and I jump in, and then I start fighting every year after that, and it became my life, you know.
Well, and man, it's an incredible record that you have. It's 9-1. It's
Yeah.
not many people have that, man. Very few. Very few.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to have very good training at Renzo.
I think
And I also was very fortunate to have Renzo guiding me too, you know, so.
and I told him his school is a manufacturer of champions.
Yeah.
You know, you have champions on the mat, and MMA, outside the mat. It's something that has to do a lot of him, how he passes jiu-jitsu to people.
That's true.
How, on that experience that you have in fighting in the MMA, how is the mindset? What's going on in your mind prior to the fight, the day of the fight, the cutting weight process? You know, it's a lot of pressure that very few can take that pressure and translate that into your fight. But how is that for you, man? Feel that, well, I'm in the Gracie family. I have no choice. In a way, I have to do well. I have to win. I want to win for me, for my family, for everyone that is being around me. How is that? How's your mind goes into all of those directions, getting hit from every direction in all of that? How's that preparation?
I think that the mindset is the most important, you know. Like sometimes you cannot be in such a good shape, but your mindset is there. You'll be able to win a fight. And sometimes you'll be in a great shape, but your mind is out of control, is everywhere, and you will lose the fight, you know. So I think the most important is the mindset. And one thing that helped me a lot was that I always competed since I was like a yellow belt, since I was 12 years old, 10 years old. And that helped me a lot with the pressure of being a Gracie and representing the Gracies, you know. So I think when I switched to MMA, was kind of easier than it was at Jiu-Jitsu, you know. I think in Jiu-Jitsu was more pressure than it is in MMA. And one thing that I put in my mind, and I also I told this before, is that I think that the Gracies, they don't have anything else to prove, you know. I think we already proved what we were supposed to, which is that Jiu-Jitsu is the best martial arts ever, you know. So right now when I fight for myself, you know. So I don't fight so much thinking about the family and the legacy. I think about myself and building my own legacy. So whatever happens in there is my fault, and it's gonna go only on me, you know. So I think if I go there and I lose, will not look bad to the family, will only look bad at me. So that takes off a little bit of the pressure, you know. But what also helps me a lot is training. Like I train so much, like it's crazy sometimes. Sometimes Renzo has to tell me, "Hey, stop, man, go home, go get some sleep." You know, it's the third time I see you at the gym today. You know, like so. I think training. When I train a lot, my mind gets strong because I know that I did everything that I could to be ready for that day. So it's something that helps me. You know.
And man, it's so good when we watch their fights. You know, it's not that we have a favorite technique, it's just the training, everything that you do. But your jiu-jitsu shows so good, so well in all those fights. And the thing is, you're well-rounded now. Standing up on the ground, it's the danger everywhere.
Yeah.
How is that? If it is something that Renzo tells you before the fight, or if it is a phrase or a word that someone in the family that told you that you have that with you every time you step on the arena to fight, is there anything that you have that gives you that, you know, I'm always ready, but something that you always remember? Because, you know, your beginning in America wasn't easy too. For the things that I read is you come in not with a lot of money and not a lot of things, and Renzo took you under his wings like he does with all the family members and friends. But how is that something that you carry that someone in the family said then becomes something so strong for you? Is that something out there that anybody said that you always have that with you?
I don't think it's something that someone said, but I think it's something that you're born with, the fighting spirit, I always had that like will to fight, to compete, So I think like all of us that becomes, because the Gracie family have a lot of people, but not all of them become fighters, I think the ones that become fighters are the ones that were born with that will to compete and to prove themselves inside the mats, And I think I was born with that. So I think that when I step in there, I want to prove to everybody that I'm good, like that I am part of this family, So being part of the family already gives me a lot of strength, But then when I talk to the older people, like I had the chance to talk to Rickson before, and the things that he told me, like, hey man, you were representing Jiu-Jitsu and you're carrying the flag also, and that makes me really proud. And when I hear that from him, from you, from all the older guys that I look up to, that gives me more strength, And what gives me more strength than anything is Jiu-Jitsu, I know that Jiu-Jitsu, if I get in trouble, Jiu-Jitsu will save me, I know that my Jiu-Jitsu is different from most of the other fighters. So I believe in my Jiu-Jitsu so much that gives me much more confidence. It's crazy,
It's and you know that each one that develops Jiu-Jitsu has a unique movements that you do. I think the beauty of Jiu-Jitsu is that is you learn the same technique as I do, but you have your own way to get into that technique. Neiman, I know it's few or maybe many. And I think you already mentioned some, but what are the names in the family that came before you? And you're born in the era that Royce was shocking the world, showing what Jiu-Jitsu can do, What are the people there that you feel that carries, inspire you on your everyday training? Because I know the training is not easy. I think sometimes the fight could be a lot less tired than the training. Is that any?
Most of the time, I think.
But how is that people that inspire you on your everyday? Is that do you have all those people that you look up to? It's like, man, I wanna, because you're doing incredible well, man. I have to see it's not many people have the record that you have and get better in each fight that you're doing, just getting better and better.
Well, thank you, Master. Thank you.
Right. It's not me saying, it's what you actually do.
Yeah.
Is that?
I think the main one, the one that I look up to more, it's Rickson, I think it's cliche for me to say it, but because everybody everybody look up to him, But the way that he is and the way he does his jiu-jitsu, and I don't know, he's like a samurai for me, So Rickson, and all the stories I hear when I was growing up from my father. My father kind of grew up at the same time as him, and everyone else. Like, so I think Rickson is the number one for sure. And I had the pleasure to train with him, and it was amazing. Like I thought it would be, like he's just amazing. But there is so many other people. I think you can take a little bit from everyone, So I take a lot from Renzo too, Rickson, Renzo. I take some from Ryan too, like his fighting spirit, So I take a little bit from everybody, and but I think the main one, the one that inspires me a lot, and I still watch his videos. I still watch Choke, the documentary. It's Rickson for sure. Like he's just a samurai, and I'm a huge fan,
And I think it's so great to have so many, because I think we can say, and I tell people in our families, people watch superheroes on TV. Then we have
Yeah.
superheroes in our living room, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I always tell them that. I say, hey man, you guys grow up with Spider-Man, Superman. I grew up with Spider-Man, Superman inside my living room, you know, inside my house. Like that. That was crazy. So they always with me. So it's different, you know.
Oh,
Now I want to ask you a question, you know.
yes.
How I think, because I think that you, from most of the people, had the chance to train with Rickson the most, you know. So how was it? How was the experience that you had with him? How did you met him, and how was from that on?
I think in my life, my personal experience is I knew Jiu-Jitsu in one way, as Carlinhos taught me everything that he knew, he taught me. But once I started training with Rickson and having classes with him, I end up start seeing Jiu-Jitsu a little bit different than before. You know, he provides you a knowledge that you are able to create techniques. And I think the principles of Jiu-Jitsu, he explained in a way that only him can do that.
Yeah.
That makes you, even with being older, have more longevity in Jiu-Jitsu and training because of the understanding of the principles. And man, it's incredible because he changed a lot the vision of I had. I thought I knew Jiu-Jitsu until I had classes with him. Then I realized,
Same.
what? I think I knew something that wasn't Jiu-Jitsu in such a high level. And I'm so glad because I was already purple belt when I started training him. I ended up getting a coral belt from him, which I never dreamed of coral belt of. But it's incredible. The experience is, you thought you know Jiu-Jitsu, then you train with him, you realize like, man, I feel like a white belt. But
exactly,
when
yeah.
you say that, you're already a higher belt. But he makes you feel such an understanding of the art. And today, I think the best description and he gives is the invisible, you know? And he makes that invisible be more visible to me. And that's why he can do with the knowledge and the understanding of the art. I mean, I don't know, in my time, anybody that you can train and makes you feel like that. Makes you be way so more, would say, a lot more hungry to learn. It's like, man,
it's true.
A whole new world. Like, man,
it makes you fall in love with Jiu-Jitsu again, right?
Yeah, boy. And every conversation that I had with him and every train that I had with him, and it was several years, man. It just Jiu-Jitsu 24/7. It's incredible.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have that privilege and that change my Jiu-Jitsu vision for much better, for sure. And you gotta understand is every instructor that we have, complement the other. You know, it was amazing to train with Carlinhos for all my life, and was incredible after all of that to have Rickson to take you to another level. But I can say, man, that's something that we wish every one of us on the family had that opportunity to get that feeling. Now,
I always bother him every time I see him. I bother him. Please, can you show me this, that? And say, yeah, you know, like I bothering him every time, you know.
I went to his house before all of this happened, and he started showing me some of the things. It's like, Rickson, how come you never showed me? Why you wait so many years? And it's incredible. He still surprises you in a lot of parts of your game in what you're missing. I said, man, I knew enough, but I guess it's not enough. It's incredible, man. And Neiman, what Jiu-Jitsu means to you, okay? And when we say Jiu-Jitsu, I cannot say Jiu-Jitsu separate than Gracie. You know, I'm going to ask you first what Jiu-Jitsu means to you.
Yeah, that's easy and a hard question. I would say that Jiu-Jitsu means everything, you know, like It's every, I see it everywhere. Like it's crazy, you know. Like my whole life was jiu-jitsu, because like I said, I was fortunate to have my father that did jiu-jitsu his whole life, and have my mother that have the whole family behind her, you know. So I had both together. I never not had jiu-jitsu in my life, you know. So jiu-jitsu I had from both sides of my family, because sometimes you are Gracie, but your mom is not. So you don't kind of have like jiu-jitsu on that side, you know. But I had on both sides. So I had jiu-jitsu. I was surrounded by jiu-jitsu the whole time, you know. It's crazy.
And that's funny because I remember your mom. I think it was the first Jewish place ever.
Yes.
Barra, right
Yeah.
across the street from the Gracie Barra.
Yeah.
I used to
Yes.
go and
Yes.
have my lunch and all over there, and have the watermelon.
Yeah. She has the pictures there.
I remember that. And what is to be a Gracie? What is that tells you? Because when I say that, I don't want people to understand that we're not saying they're better or worse than anybody.
Yeah.
But you're born in a family like this, in each one of us has a meaning.
Yeah.
What is that to you to be a Gracie?
I would say that being a Gracie, it's like being a member of the gym, but being a little bit more, you know, like the students, they can feel what it is to be a Gracie a little bit, some of the students, but we feel it a little bit more, because when we go home, it keeps going, you know, like the gym, it keeps going from there. Like it's crazy. It's a little bit more than being a regular member at the gym. Like the regular member can feel like a Gracie too, because he's there with us, everything. But when he goes home, that road stays behind him, you know. And for us, when we go home, it's still with us. So it's always with us the whole time, you know. So I think that's a little never end, you know. It's crazy. So when they go home, they go watch TV, and we go roll in front of the TV. So it's a little bit different. But also there is the whole legacy and the people. I think the best thing of being a Gracie is having so many teachers, you know. They have so many different people to take jiu-jitsu from. So every reunion, every time you see an uncle that you don't see from a long time, you ask about jiu-jitsu, and you have so many people to learn from. It's amazing.
And I think I don't know how hard, how easy that question can be.
Yeah.
Who is Neiman Gracie?
Boy, that's hard. I don't know, man. I think right now I'm just like I'm still just like a fighter, you know. Like I haven't gone from that fighter to the teacher. I teach since I was very young too, but I'm still like Neiman Gracie is still a fighter, you know, like still a guy that wants to learn. He's still a student, I think. So I think I'm still a student. I'm still the fighter, and I'm almost ready to go for the next step, which is living not almost, but I know that step will come, which is leaving the fight behind me and going to the next phase, you know. But I think that would be really hard. I don't know how I'm gonna deal with that, because everything in my life right now is fighting and want to train and want to wake up and go train and come back home, eat, go back, train. So I don't know how it's gonna be the next step of my life, you know. So right now I'm just Neiman Gracie, just a fighter, I think, you know.
Let me push a little more from my eyes, some of the things that I was able to see on you. I don't know. I know we did not have as much contact as we wish we had as you growing up, because I moved also.
Unfortunate, man.
You live in New
Unfortunate,
York.
man.
But knowing that growing up in a Gracie family is something that feels like we do have a mission in life, you know, regardless of you will follow your life teaching jiu-jitsu or fighting jiu-jitsu, because a lot of members of the family, as you know, learned jiu-jitsu, got their black belts, but they went to a different direction.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure, because you feel that, not that we do have something to prove, but at the same time, we want to prove, you know? We know
Yes, exactly.
Jiu-Jitsu is already established around the world. It's not the point to prove what Jiu-Jitsu is, to prove yourself. In such a young age, watching the new generation, which in that case you are the present generation of the family, be able to handle the pressure, the name, you know, that almost the need that you have and you must win for you and to continue the legacy of the family. A lot of members of the family are part of the history of the family, but very few, and you are one of them, are able to write the story also in this family of so many great fighters. You now have your name forever in the family for what you've done in such a young age. But what impresses me is such a young age be able to handle all that pressure on you, but even better, be able to translate that, showing who you are when you're fighting over there, knowing you that you're a very happy person, very fun person. Even your opponents like you, just that tells a lot. But please do continue to inspire myself, all of the other members of the family. Continue to represent in such a elegant way and a warrior spirit that few of members of the family also do have. You know that not all members of the family wants to fight or maybe handle that well as you do. Because you know we have, when we say crazy, I think people do not understand is our way to say love in our family. That was so crazy, but the reality is with love, and we need, all of the members need to pass through those situations. As you mentioned that your grandfather was watching hands and high and training, he knew there was no danger over there because they're not gonna kill each other, but they would take it
Exactly.
to a level that, you know, if it needs to be in that pressure, that level, they're doing that to each other with the craziness that for me is love.
Yeah.
Keep inspire us all. Keep being this
Thank you,
young
man.
man that you are, but showing already so much grown-up mentality. And you say Rickson, the samurai, and this man, Neiman Gracie is the samurai of the present. You know, you are right now.
Thank you.
You inspire all of us to continue to train. I can't wait to see you in person, Neiman. Yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing and keep inspiring. It's so unbelievable it's like I'm watching a movie, see this whole transformation from a little kid, a student, suddenly a fighter. And yes, I think you're going to be handled well, man, like you've been handling your life well. After the fight,
Yeah,
we're going to continue to do jiu-jitsu forever, you know?
it's true.
The level change, but you still a lot more to do. You're still very young.
You make my day. You just make my day, Master, you know?
You are now is our current samurai active into the battles that I make sure every time you're up there, I turn the TV on and say, hey, man, you know this guy?
Awesome.
He's my cousin. He's my cousin. People like, what?
Now you're going to make me more nervous.
My cousin.
Because I know you're watching.
Não, Neiman, parabéns, campeão, Tudo
Obrigado,
bom,
mestre.
continue sendo essa inspiração a todos nós da família e a todos que estão te vendo aí, tá? Parabéns mesmo, cara, de coração. Nos deixa todos muito orgulhosos de ver, tão novo assim, segurando a pressão, como um samurai.
Você fez o meu dia, porque como eu falei, sou teu fã, bicho.
Cara, eu que sou teu fã agora.
É ruim, porra. Cresci vendo vocês são meus heróis, porra.
Orgulho, né? Orgulho da família mesmo. E, mais uma vez, você não só faz parte da história, mas você também escreveu a sua história, o que não é fácil nessa família, mas escreveu como poucos. Entendeu? E, pô,
Obrigado, mestre.
continue nos fazendo orgulhoso dessa forma, Neiman.
Pô,
Fica com Deus.
valeu.
Saúde. Um beijo na família. Pô, dá um abração no teu pai.
Você também.
Um beijão na sua mãe.
Claro.
Saudade de todos. Valeu, Neiman.
Tá bom.
Obrigado,
Porra,
galera.
make my day, professor. Obrigado. Porra.
Valeu, campeão.
Um herói, meu herói falando isso pra
Isso.
mim, pô, não vou nem dormir.
Obrigado, campeão. Pô, tudo de bom, hein, cara?
Obrigado você. Valeu, mestre. Fica com Deus.
Você também, cara.
Abraço.